The last section is on factoring quadratics specifically. So if I look at the next one, x squared minus 2x minus 8. What I do is I always set up my parentheses. I know that the first term will be x because it's x squared. The next thing I do is I look at my constant. Because this is a negative, what that tells me is that my signs are going to be different. I'm going to have a minus and a plus. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. Then I start looking at factors of 8. They don't have to be prime factors, they just have to be factors. So I have 1 and 8, I have 2 and 4. Those are the whole number factors of 8. So then I start to think, well, if I multiply these, I'll get 8. I need to be able to add them to get negative 2. So negative 1 plus 8, not negative 2. Negative 8 plus 1, not negative 2. Negative 2 plus 4, not negative 2. Negative 4 plus 2, that is negative 2, so what that tells me is 4 has to be the minus sign, 2 has to be the plus sign. You can always multiply it back out to check. X squared plus 2x minus 4x, that's negative 2, minus 8. Looking at the next one. I know my first term is y. I know that I need multiples of 4. So that's 1 and 4, or it's 2 and 2. This tells me that the terms are the same. This tells me that they're both positive. So 1 plus 4 does not equal 3. 2 plus 2 does not equal 3. What does that mean? That means that there is no solution here. This is prime. It means that we cannot factor it. All right, taking a look at the next one. Here we've got two different variables going on. I know my first terms are r. Then if I start looking at factors of 12s squared, I'll just look at the 12 first, right? So I have 1 and 12. I have 2 and 6. I have 3 and 4. I know that this plus sign tells me that these are the same sign. The minus sign tells me that they're both negative. Right, because a negative times a negative will give me a positive. So I start combining these. Will negative 12 and negative 1 give me negative 7? Will negative 6 and negative 2 give me negative 7? Will negative 4 and negative 3 give me negative 7? This is the pair that I'm looking for. Now, I do need this to be r times s. So what I've noticed is that I don't have any s squareds happening in the middle, which means that each one of these will get s. If I multiply it out, r squared minus 3rs minus 4rs, that's minus 7rs, plus 12s squared. Here's the last one. Now I can't split this 2 up because 2 is a prime number, which means that one of my terms will be 2m and the other will be m. I know my last term absolutely has to be 1 because 1 times 1 is equal to 1. This tells me my signs are different. This tells me that the larger value is negative because it's got to be negative. So what I do is I place them and see if it works. So 2m squared plus 2m minus 1m, that will give me a positive. That means this one's positive, this one's negative. 2m squared minus 2m plus m. There's my negative m, minus 1. Now it is possible to find greatest common factor and least common multiple, not only of terms, but of polynomials. So really I'm looking for just the greatest common factor, and here are my two polynomials. So the first thing I need to do is factor these polynomials. So if I factor this, I end up with 6y times y minus 1. Those are the factors. And then if I factor 4y to the 4th minus 24y cubed plus 20y squared, I know that I can factor out a 4y, and that leaves me with, 4y squared. That leaves me with y squared minus 6y plus 5. Now I am not done here, in case we were curious if we were done. We do have to pull this out into more factors, and this one, by the way, as well. So the first one is really 2 times 3 times y minus 1. Here I need to factor the y squared component. The plus sign means that they're both the same. Both have the same sign. This minus tells me they're both negative. So when I write this out, I get 2 times y times y minus 1 times y minus 5. Greatest common factor, circle all the things that are the same. We have a 2 in common, we have a y in common, and we have a y minus 1 in common. So our greatest common factor is 2y times y minus 1.